All right, let's start with a sound test check. How's that sound in the back? Everybody here? Not loud enough? Okay, maybe we make it just a little bit louder. Now, a couple of things back there in the back, there's a table with a cooler with some water. If anybody gets thirsty, help yourself. We also have some fans here, although we got a real nice breeze today. Those are also in the back. If you want to grab a fan, it's a good souvenir. And there's also a flyer that gives you a little bit of history of the Perkins House as well. So you take those home and read about it and those kinds of things. We'd want to get started today by just saying thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. We would like to invite Dr. Ayoka and Prince Papa Ni Sowala to give a blessing for today's ceremony. If you would please come to the center.
Alafia.
Alafia.
Alafia means peace and good blessings. We need it, right? All right. Let me just begin by introducing the libation person, the person who will pour the libation. Libation was the first African prayer ever. And so it does us great pleasure to be able to do what has been done down through the ages. This is Ni Sowala Abrampa. Ni means he's a prince. He hails from the royal house of Odoye Achem in Ghana, West Africa. Man?
Now we're going to start with drum call.
Loud.
And usually when you go to Africa, especially in Ghana, when you see two big drums being beaten, it means the king is calling. And that's communication. So drum language, you hear what they are saying, and you can be afar. Even when there's war, they'll beat the drum and they'll interpret what is happening. And so they don't know what to do. And so today, it seems like we are in war front. So we have to do the drum call with the king talking to us. Now we're going to offer the liberatory prayer. And I have to remove my footwear because I'm sitting right in front of elders here and the Almighty Creator, the grand first ancestor. And this is the reason why in our culture, in African culture, we remove our shoes when we come in front of elders, kings, queens, and at holy places, you have to remove your shoes and your cap if you are not supposed to do that. So I remove.
Strong drink for strong measures.
We have two vessels, one girl, one boy, one woman, one man. That makes the androgyny. God is both male and female in our culture. And actually, when you look around nature, we cross pollinate stuff. So the creative energy is androgynous, which means it's both male and female. Chicago, hey.
Amen.
When I say I go, please you all say amen, which means I'm knocking. I'm asking your permission. Say, yes, coming. Yes, coming. I go, hey.
Amen.
I go.
Amen.
I go.
Amen.
When I say cha, cha, omanyaba, you say yao. Omanye means all the good in the world that you are looking for. Say, yes, I want it. Let it come unto me. Cha, 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 omanyaba, yao. Cha, 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 omanyaba, yao. Cha, 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 omanyaba, yao. Eh, wabama wo.
Yao.
The Almighty Creator. Eh, wabama wo.
Yao.
The Almighty Creator. Eh, wabama wo.
Yao.
The Almighty Creator. Eh, obama wo, please. Which means you, God, you are in the east, you are in the west, you are in the north, you are in the south, you are above, you are below, you are within, you are without, you are seen, you are not seen, invisible. Here's the first cause, out of which everything came. The sun came out of it, the earth came out of it, and everything. And it took some of the soil and created we human beings. This water, that is your name too. We are offering to show how matter complex that you are. We offer it to you as a sign of worship. And now, as we call upon you, now we are now imploring you on our knees that let all your angels and your archangels and our ancestors come and partake in the drink that we are offering as a sign of veneration. Everybody are real. Baikonunu. Chakpabi baikonunu. Nakolo baikonunu. Akota dumleku baikonunu. Nisem baikonunu. Bungem baikonunu. Agbolalu baikonunu. Me make a name finye bahia konye nuai. Which means all our ancestors, colorless, all our ancestors come and partake in the offering that we are giving. Now, all those in the east come and drink. From the west, come and drink. From the south, come and drink. From the west, come and drink. From above, come and drink. Below, come and drink. Sin, come and drink. Unseen, come and drink. Now, when we offer water, when we are thirsty, then we drink. So, Tetiata, what really making it thirsty as a community, as a people, when we drink of this water, let it quench that kind of thirst. We thank you. Water, everything came out of you, whether green out of there, red out of there, yellow out of whatever color you came from, where? Water. And wherever you are, you drink what? Water. Wherever you are, you bath with what? Water. If I give you food, and I don't give you water, am I being kind? No. Oh, water, cleans each and every one. You are the cleanser. Oh, water, when our plants are dying, regenerate them all. Now, there is something in earth which is dying. Regenerate it. There is something which is in earth. Cleanse it. Now, today as we are here, let your spiritual rains and physical rains pour down. And let it bless the very ceremony that we are going to have here. And let us become one. All is one. One is all. Now, because no matter what, east and west work together. North and south work together. Heaven and earth work together. So let us all follow nature and be like nature, and we shall be successful as nature. Oh, Boma will bless each and every woman here. Bless each and every man here. Bless each and every child here, being girl or boy. Now, whatever they are looking for, let them. All those who are sick, heal them all. All those who are not really on good terms, let them all become one. Now we thank you. And may Omalu. And all those who are concerned, let this occasion be something that we are going to learn from, and let this, from today going, let it help us all the time. Let us forget about pride. For pride is slippery. They say, when you step on pride, very slippery, you fall. We thank you very much. Cha, 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 oh manyaba. Yow.
Thank you so much for that blessing. And I appreciate the blessing of this breeze that we're celebrating right now as well. Well, let me just say again, good morning, and thank you all for being here on this historic moment in Newberry, in Alachua County, indeed in the state of Florida. In 2017, 7 years ago, the community in Newberry came together to discuss whether or not we should participate in Truth and Reconciliation. At that very first meeting, there were some who thought that we should not. They thought it would be divisive. They thought it would open old wounds. They thought it would tear our community apart. There were other people who thought that we should. They thought that we needed to address the pain of the past in order to honestly move into the future as one truly united community. Those voices won out, and we decided to try. And I am so glad that we did. There were 2 questions at that very first meeting about what Truth and Reconciliation in Newberry would look like. The first question was about how to teach Newberry's racial history to our children. We answered that question by forming a partnership with the University of Florida, and we wrote a curriculum to teach about the Newberry lynchings. Then we took that curriculum to the school, and we piloted it in 3 African American history classes that first year. The next year, it was made available to every African American history and American history class in Alachua County. We also presented that curriculum at the National Conference of Social Studies, and it was one of the most well attended at the conference that year, with over 1,700 educators in the room. We took that curriculum international when we presented it at a conference in Dublin, Ireland. That was fun. That conference was about teaching hard histories. And then the curriculum was also accepted into a textbook called Teaching Difficult Histories in Difficult Times. And I am pleased to announce that that textbook just won the 2024 Society of Professors of Education Outstanding Book Award. All that applause is really for Dr. Atria and Dr. Washington. They did all the work. I just helped them get that. I have now taught that curriculum in my class for the last 4 years, and it has been an amazing unit to teach. I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty good beginning to the answer to that very first question. The second question that was asked at that meeting that day was about Dudley Farms State Park. And it became clear to me in the room that day that there was a very strong feeling in our African American community that the park wasn't covering all aspects of Newberry's history. It wasn't telling everyone's story, everyone's experience in equal measure. Now, this is not a criticism of the park rangers and volunteers. I want you to know how amazing these men and women have been as partners in helping us get here to this moment. But it was a learning process for me to realize that Dudley Farms had come to symbolize for many of our friends and neighbors the very problem in teaching history, this history, to our children. For them, Dudley had become the physical embodiment of a narrative that failed to identify their role, their experience, their history. Dudley had come to be a continuation of a classroom lesson that they simply didn't just not see themselves in, but in fact was teaching just enough of a different version of history to write out the pain and trauma that is one of the most important features of understanding African American history. There was no question that day that Dudley Farms shouldn't be a state park. There is history here that absolutely needs to be preserved. There was just the simple question of how to help tell the full story so that when children visit, they each see, every one of them, history and heritage that speaks to their ancestors' experiences. And that brings us here today. Today, you are going to hear about the history of the Perkins family. You will learn about the triumph of spirit that it took for people with black skin to make it through the Jim Crow era. You will hear about the future plans for the Perkins home and how all of Alachua County is working together to tell and teach this history. But as we sit here today learning about the history that is finally being written down and discussed publicly, I want you to think about the history that you are living in by being here this morning. I would ask that you let the weight of this moment sink in to your consciousness. Moving the Perkins home, which has been made possible from the very generous donation from the Saltzgiver family of the home itself, the financial generosity of the Sherman family, and the guidance and mentorship of Dr. Roy Hunt, sitting over here. I'm glad you made it, sir. Along with every single committee member. If you're a committee member who's worked for the past 2 years, would you please stand or raise your hand and let folks know who has been involved? Miss Lizzie, put your hand up. Miss Dupree, Miss Patty, right? Miss Joy. I'm scanning. There's the Sherman family back there. Thank you guys so much. These folks have dedicated 2 years of their life to get us here today. But moving the Perkins home has made it possible for us as a community to partner with the state parks, to work together to tell this history. And because of the commitment and men and women who run Dudley Park, because of the commitment of this community to telling all the truths of history, and because of the commitment of the county to telling all the truths of history, Dudley Farm State Park is now the first state park in the state of Florida to engage in truth and reconciliation. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the midst of history in the making. I'd like to invite at this time Alachua County's Poet Laureate, E. Stanley Richardson, to come to the podium today and give us a poem to celebrate and commemorate today. Welcome, Mr. Richardson.
Good morning. I want to thank Mayor Marlowe for his dedication to truth and reconciliation in Newberry and Alachua County. Thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me. And you did text me and ask me that was I reading a new poem. So I thought that was a prompt for me to make sure that I wrote something specific for this occasion. So thank you for that. And thank you for everyone who participated in making this day possible. I grew up in a house much like this from the time I was, until I was about 12 years old. My father built a house after that, but this house reminds me of my maternal grandparents' home that I grew up in. Pretty much just like this, the wood, fireplace. We had a little outhouse out back. So I used some of that inspiration to write this poem. And thank you, Dr. Dupree, for sharing some of your insight and history of the Perkins family. Alachua County, Truth and Reconciliation, Dudley Farm, the Perkins House. And the truth shall make us free. Tell the truth, shame the devil. But what is truth? The question Pontius Pilate pondered. Quid est veritas? There are no alternative truths, but only truth. Truth reconciled here by a house. How candlelight leans into history. What has entered and what exits doorways. How the floor creaks is how an old house speaks. The wood, the windows, wind and sorrow. How the joists beam, hope and promise of what awaits tomorrow. The thoughts and prayers of what a mantle holds above what wishes danced in a fireplace. The children's laughter still lingers in the loft. The toil and timber. Does a tin roof remember each season's sound of rain? The living, the striving, the surviving, the joy and the pain of something built in bondage and emancipated, fashioned into a family's home. Here and now, memories, history, yet still, the Perkins House stands. Thank you.
You know what I love most about the poetry of East Angley Richardson is how much it makes me think in how so short a period of time. That was truly beautiful, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I was not at all saying you had to write something new, but I'm eternally grateful that you did.
I was inspired.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, I'm going to ask, Miss Sherry Dupree is going to come and talk to us on behalf of all of the work done by Miss Garlinda Green-Gant and Miss Patty Bartlett. But we're going to let her sit down there and just kind of turn and talk to you from down there, if that's all right with everybody.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's a wonderful thing to be in an area enjoying the beautiful sun out on this beautiful land. It is a joy. Give yourselves a hand for being here. Thank you. Yes, we're here today. We're here to talk about the Dudleys bringing forth the Perkins House. And I have passed out a bookmark. Hopefully most of you got one. If not, we'll get more done for you. The Perkins place, if you would see that, James and Rebecca Perkins English were one of the pioneer families in Jonesville. On August 3rd of 1870, they were recorded as living in Alachua County in the U.S. Census. The couple owned 40 acres of land, and they raised 8 children. Let me clarify that. She had 10, she lost 2, so 8 lived. And they came from Camden, South Carolina as enslaved workers. Yes, they came as enslaved workers to Florida. They came to Alachua County as a pioneer family. James and Rebecca English were enslaved workers of the Shannon family. They were brought to Florida, as I said again, from Camden, South Carolina, around 1856. We said around. James and Rebecca were married around 1863 and remained together for approximately 46 years. And of the children, as I said, 8 lived. And in one other source, they said 7 lived. All right, now Rebecca worked for the Dudley family. She worked from 1867 and continued for 48 years working for the Dudleys. She was their housekeeper, she was their midwife for the community, and she did many tasks to help the community. She was known as the nanny in the area. It was a common practice for the wife to work for a family, and she worked for the white family, which was the Dudley family, which they call her Aunt Becky. Now, we passed out their fans out here, and I didn't bring mine up, but if you got a fan, hold it up. There is a picture, all right, of Aunt Becky. Thank you. And I wish to thank the Dudley Farm for putting that fan together and making it available to you today. It's a wonderful souvenir to keep. Thank you so much. Now, as we move down in 1885, Rebecca purchased land, and this land was available for them. But let me give a clarification. During that time, there was quite a bit of land that was purchased by African Americans in this area. And the question is, why? How did they get the money? Because from the time of slavery, which was 1865, and later when they found out that they were actually free, which was done in May here in the state of Florida, they were able to not only save and work, but many of them got military retirement money because they had participated in the war. And it took from that time up until this point almost for them to get their monies. So they took that money, most of them, and put it into land. Jim Perkins and Rebecca purchased land, and of course that was 1885. I will mention some others who purchased land out here. William Moss, he purchased 40 acres in 1885. Gaines Hurst, Milliken Hurst, William Childs, they purchased 400 acres of land out here in 1886. Surrey Ross, she was the wife of the Ross families here, which is down the road from us here on Newberry Road. They purchased 40 acres in 1896. And in 1908, Dan Stokes and Norma Smith purchased 80 acres. Keeping in mind that while these families were here, they were considered freemen at that time, and they worked for the Dudleys. They set up a school, and many of the school students were workers on Dudley property. Many of them took care of the chickens, they took care of the animals, they worked part-time, but this was a way of income for the African-American people. They did not leave the Dudleys. This is a big farm. They had to have others to help them to maintain the farm. So that was one of the aspects of the family. The next part of it that I should share with you is that if you turn over to the other side, I have 1866. That was wrong. 1856 should have been the date, and I didn't catch it as a mistake. So you can remember 1856. Captain Dudley, PVH Dudley Sr., owned the large Dudley plantation. Today, it is registered and known as the Dudley Farm, Historic State Park in Newberry, Florida. This is the land where you are today. Now, April 17th of 2024, recently, the Perkins home was located on Mr. and Mrs. Saltgiver's property, and it was moved to Dudley Farm. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Saltgiver, I know you're here, but would you stand so that the people can recognize you? And thank you for allowing that house to be moved. Thank you so very, very much. Because in the past, we've carried many groups there to that house and talked about the different aspects of the house. And one thing that the people remember, the students tell me all the time, you know, I didn't have any idea. This is a small house. And all these people slept upstairs? Yes, they did. Can you believe that? They had a little tiny stair unit. You go upstairs and get upstairs, and then you lay down and go to sleep. And of course, you had blankets and other things up there to take care of you. But this was for the children mainly. The husband and wife slept downstairs. And so that's one thing that when we go back into the schools and talk about it, they remember that. How in the world do those kids pile up and sleep upstairs in that house? It's a small house. I said, yes. I said, things today are much different, aren't they? Yeah, one kid told me, yeah, we got mattresses at our house. I said, yes, you have. But anyway, thank you again to the Saltgivers and for all the time that we have disturbed them and work with them and come out in the yard to find materials, look at the flowers, and be a part of their community. All right, now May the 4th, which is today, a welcoming of the Perkins home. We have increased the documentation and history of the Dudley Farm community by bringing this house here. We have a lot of history that we can share with you in the future. In addition to the Perkins home place, we educate visitors about the lives and the accomplishments of African-American families, and this will really be brought out now, who were laborers to the Dudleys during the 20th and 21st centuries in Alachua County, Florida. Alachua County, Florida has a lot to be proud of. We have a lot to be proud of because we have so many African-American families who have stayed in the community, who have educated their children and moved forward. Now, one family member that I wanted to mention was George Perkins. George Perkins dealt with real estate. He dealt with real estate. But then there was, let me backtrack. George Perkins, was an educator. He was one of the children. And being one of the children, he was working in Gainesville at the Union Academy. He helped at the Union Academy. And of course, there's a school named for him down south, the George Perkins School. So you see right there, there was a lot of input from family and friends in the community. Now, the other Perkins I was going to mention was a real estate developer in Alachua County. Could you believe that? He sold a lot of Black homes and worked with African Americans. And he was very prosperous. There were teachers in the family. There were people who were what we call hardcore farmers, in the sense that they did more than just one product. They had different products that they raised, including tobacco. Did you know tobacco was raised around here? Yes, it was. Peanuts and all the other items that you know about. And so they were involved in that, and it was sort of like the union of people in this community. One other thing I need to mention is the education, again, going back to that. There was a school here, and the school was located not far from this area. I can't really give you the coordinates of it right at this point. But James Perkins was on the school board. The school board had to be formed so they could raise enough money to build a building out here so that they could have a school to educate their children. Education was priority. The Bible was priority. The children had to learn to read through papers and whatever they could get their hands on. I was told that they kept their newspapers and other items, and the kids would take one part and the next part and learn to read. They learned to read the ads first, and then learn to read other things during their times of dealing with newspapers. They didn't have the luxury of having the books in the libraries that we have now. But the materials that they had were well used and shared with families throughout the area. One other thing that I'd like to mention was Black economic development, and we have to keep that in mind. Yes, they were here. Yes, they were sharecroppers in a sense. Yes, they were laborers. Yes, they did many tasks out here, but they brought economic development to this area. And that is something that we must recall as we deal with the study of African Americans. Yes, we work. Yes, we work up from sun up to sundown. We work the fields. We did many, many, many jobs that you know and many that we don't know. But the point of it is, we always were pleasant. We were happy in the sense of working with other people. Not happy in the sense of some days being tired, but we were happy in knowing that we were human beings and that we were contributing to society. So I wish to thank the Dudley Farm for what they have done, because you're bringing on history to another part of Alachua County. Now, we'll mention two other things. You have also history of other areas of Florida, but this is one of the growingest histories in the state of Florida, bringing in people, bringing in more activities in this area. So give yourselves a hand for being in a prosperous area. Thank you so very much for this. And the last little part, I couldn't get my screen to show. But anyway, I'm sure you have shared and that you will continue to share and bring people to this area to visit not only this house, but to visit the whole area, because there's so much to see, so much to learn through the Dudleys. Thank you.
We're going to put it right back over.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Dr. Sherry Dupree. We appreciate her being here. I said, these women, they never let anything get them down. And Dr. Sherry Dupree and Miss Lizzie Jenkins, raise your hand here. There's Miss Lizzie Jenkins. You guys can't see it, but she looks like she just went through a car wreck. But she is not going to miss today. And Miss Lizzie Jenkins and Dr. Sherry Dupree, these are two towering historians in our local midst. And someday we're going to be having a ceremony that commemorates the life and the work that they did to contribute to all the history that is around us. And we appreciate both of you being here. The one thing I love about this process more than anything else is every time I do something, I learn something. And I learned so much, Dr. Dupree, so thank you so much. Next up, we'd like to invite Commissioner Chuck Chestnut to come up and give us some comments on what's going on in Alachua County, how we're all working together. We appreciate you being here so much, sir. Thank you. These steps are a little bit easier than climbing up over there. Come on down, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Marlowe, for this opportunity.
This is meant for people my size.
I got you. That's all right. It is an honor to be here for the opening of this new exhibit, the Perkins home at Dudley Farm. We welcome this new chapter of truth and reconciliation. This is a new era when museums and heritage sites begin to speak the truth about our shared history so we can begin to heal and to work toward a more just world. The Perkins home begins to tell the story of Black people who were enslaved here in Alachua County. My own ancestors were enslaved near here at the Hale Homestead Plantation. The Perkins family built this home, and the fact that it is still standing today shows a strength not only this family, but many families who endured much hardship and unfairness. Following the end of slavery, the Reconstruction era began with great hope and new freedom men and women. Black citizens overcame enormous obstacles to pursue leadership roles, education opportunities, and to own businesses and farms. But many white people remained resistant to Black equality. As the Union soldiers withdrew protections, while communities began to resort to racial terror and mob violence. Between 1882 and 1930, Florida had the highest per capita lynching rate in the United States, with Alachua County ranked at the top of the list. There are 50 documented lynchings of men, women, and children in Alachua County. White mobs lynched Black people for voting, to take property, or simply to instill fear and intimidation. After lynchings took place, these acts of terrorism were enforced by white officials and community members failing to hold mobs accountable for their crimes. By telling the truth of our shared history, we can begin to work on reconciliation and work for equality and justice. Following the visit to the Memorial Piece of Justice and the Legacy Museum created by the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama, I invited a community volunteers to create the Alachua County Remembrance Project, a coalition group throughout Alachua County. We began in 2020, working in partnership with Equal Justice Initiative. We work to educate ourselves as our community about our history, our racial terrorism. We collected soil from sites of lynching and hold ceremonies to honor those victims, creating a remembrance quilt and installing historical markers. Concerned citizens of Newberry led the way, as they were the first group to contact EJI and the first to hold a soil collection ceremony. We owe much to the work of our local historians, including Dr. Patricia Hilliard-Nunn, Sherry Dupree, Karen Kirkman, Janice Owens, and Dr. Paul Ortiz. In addition to these ceremonies, we are creating a digital Black heritage website and map. And we have just completed an exhibit about our work in Alachua County Administration Building lobby. We will be having a grand opening event on June 1st, 2024. There will be music, food, and communities from all over the county, and all are welcome to attend. Thank you for this opportunity. It's an important addition to the telling the story of our shared history here at Dudley Farm. And thank you, Mayor Marlowe, for this invitation to share about the Truth and Reconciliation in Alachua County. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, sir. You know, Commissioner Chestnut's being modest. Without his leadership, we wouldn't be here either. I was able to take a group of students this year to see the EJI Monument, the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, and the Legacy Museum. And we were able to do that through a very generous donation from the Alachua County League of Cities and the Alachua County Children's Trust. And between those two things, we were able to give students at Newberry High School an incredible experience. And so that truly is remarkable. I hope everybody has a chance to go up there soon and see it. Moving this house was obviously an engineering feat. And if you'll notice the chimney that is still there, no one thought that chimney was going to make it through the move. And I think the only construction company in Alachua County that could have successfully got it here would have been Ulrich Construction. So please welcome Ashley Ulrich Barnes to come down here and tell us a little bit about moving it here in one piece. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning, everybody. As he said, my name is Ashley Barnes, and I'm really proud to be here today representing Ulrich Construction. Having grown up in Newberry and being a proud graduate of Newberry High School and a former student of Mayor Marlowe, I'm incredibly grateful that Ulrich Construction had the opportunity to be a small part of this momentous project. Mayor Marlowe has been working on moving this house for years, and it's a joy to see it finally complete and successful, of course. Growing up in Newberry, I was always moved by the level of care, dedication, and initiative our community leaders had every single day. This project exemplifies not only the commitment of our community leaders, but the rich history present here in Newberry. It's refreshing to be a part of a community that recognizes its history and honors it proudly. For our team, this project aligns with our core mission, which is to leave a lasting legacy in all that we do in the communities we serve. The Perkins House undoubtedly has a lasting legacy in Newberry, and this move to Dudley Farm ensures its legacy will be present for generations to come. Thank you to Mayor Marlowe, Dudley Farm, and all of the dedicated community leaders and experts that made this project possible. We're so grateful to GSC Engineering and TNT House Movers who executed the move perfectly. And of course, I would like to recognize our team who made this possible: Javelle Woods, Yosmani Gill, Lourdes Pachinlo, and Marcus Tucker. This move was a culmination of many wonderful men and women's hard work and dedication, as you've heard today. And we're just so grateful to be involved. And thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so excited to bring my future children here one day and have them learn about the significance of the Perkins House and the wonderful things here preserved on Dudley Farm. Thank you all so much.
Y'all have to give me a minute. I was blinded by that big diamond over here just shining right in. Say congratulations to Ashley. I just embarrassed her. I'm sorry. She just got married. It was a beautiful ceremony. Now I'm going to have to refocus my eyes. I apologize. Now, please, congratulations. Well done. It was a beautiful ceremony. We'd like to invite the Florida State Parks District Manager, Cliff Maxwell, to come and say a few words just about the park's acceptance of the Perkins home. We appreciate you, sir, so much for being here. You and your team have truly been amazing from meeting one to today. The responsiveness has been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it has been a couple of years since we, I think, announced the initiative to acquire the Perkins home and to move it onto the property. And I knew it'd take a long time, but I didn't think it'd take quite this long. And I come to find out that the Florida Park Service about 25 years ago tried very hard to acquire the property that the Saltzgivers now live on because of the Perkins home and its important story to tell related to the Dudley Farm and the community of Jonesville. One of the things that took the longest was kind of getting our, we received the National Historic Landmark designation just prior to beginning to work on moving the Perkins home, and we are supported very much by the Florida Department of State's Division of Historic Resources. And taking a historic structure and moving it from where it lives is generally a frowned on practice. And so it took a lot of communicating, education, and helping them understand that this very rare resource would go away if we weren't able to somehow preserve it and the story that it tells. So remarkably, it's really going to be just a little bit shorter distance. It's oriented exactly the same. We appreciate all of the donations that made the move happen. Certainly the Saltzgivers from being so generous in offering to provide that donation to begin with, something they didn't have to do. And it was a nice guest house for them and such a generous donation. Thank you so much. So hopefully, in maybe less than a couple of more years, we'll be doing another ribbon cutting to invite the public to see the wonderful interpretation that we do to tell the story of how the Perkins themselves really helped the community build the Dudley Farm, but also the broader story of who the people are that really made the community work. And it was certainly more than just a single farm family. It was an entire community that really raised up the economics in the area, the city of Jonesville. And so this is a great opportunity to continue to expand on that story. So thank you so much. Mayor Marlowe, appreciate your help. And thanks for keeping on pushing on that,
Yeah, if you'll notice that very noticeable gap in the tree line, that's exactly where the house it was sitting right across that fence, and it just had to be picked up and moved right over here. The orientation had to be perfect. We had to do archaeological digs under the house. We had to do archaeological digs here. It truly was a very, very time-consuming process, but it was a very thorough process thanks to the work of the committee members, making sure we did every single thing that needed to be done to preserve the history of it. So thank you, Mr. Maxwell. We appreciate that. And now please welcome the Dudley Farms Park Manager, Dennis Parson, to come and tell us a little bit about what is phase 2? What's the plan for this exhibit? Welcome, sir. We appreciate all the help that you have also given because it has been a team effort.
Yes, thank you so much.
Come on, man.
First, I'd like to welcome everyone to Dudley Farm. Thank you so much for coming out. What a wonderful day. I want to thank the Saltzgivers for the generous donation. Thank you, Mayor Marlowe, the City of Newberry, Alachua County, the Perkins Home Committee for the perseverance in making this day possible, because I know it's been a couple years coming. I was asked to speak about the future for the Perkins Home now that it is here at Dudley Farm. The first phase will be, what we'll be doing is we'll be developing a restoration plan. We will be working closely with the Division of Historic Resources and National Park Service, the Perkins Home Committee, local experts and professionals to carefully and thoughtfully guide us in the restoration of the Perkins Home. Ulrich got it over here, and it was a pretty cool thing seeing it come over. But there is, and then they did some demolition inside, and now it's up to us to put it back to the way it was when Becky Perkins lived in it. So I kind of went off here. We will also be doing recreating the cultural landscape around. Probably be some planning, some fencing, and we will be working with interpretive services to develop a plan for interpretation for the cultural resource. The Florida Park Service mission is to provide a resource-based recreation while preserving and restoring our cultural and natural resources. We get the privilege of being the voice for our natural and cultural resources. We look forward to being able to tell the story of the Perkins home in the future on a daily basis here at Dudley Farm Historic State Park. And that's what I have written. I have a tendency to get up in front of people because there's a lot more people out there than looks like when I'm sitting in this. I've gotten this overwhelming feeling of love here today, and I thank you so much for bringing that love here to Dudley Farm and to the Perkins homes, and thank you all for. Because I know there's a lot of individuals here that's made this possible, and so thank you so much.
You know, I can't think of a better comment to end today on than that. Thank you so much, sir, for that very sincere moment. And I do want to point out, I mentioned him earlier, Dr. Roy Hunt here. About 2.5 years ago, maybe, I got an email from a local businessman that said, "Hey, I got a guy that wants to talk to you about an interview you gave in the Gainesville Sun." And I thought, well, here we go. And I sat down with him, and it turns out, I don't remember what I said, but it was something about exactly what we're doing here today. And when we sat down, he said, "I agree with you. We need to do something." And in fact, we were supposed to do something. And he started pulling out paperwork after paperwork from when this was created as a state park to all of the work to get it recognized on the National Registrar, and how frequently everybody had acknowledged that we needed to tell the history of African-American experience during Jim Crow era as well. And it truly was that lunch. I had no idea that lunch was starting this journey, but that is what began this process. But without his mentorship of helping to navigate, because if there's somebody that knows every single state, national park division in the state in the country, it is Dr. Hunt. And he was able, every time we hit a log jam, I called him and he said, "Well, you need to talk to this person, and this person is," and so we couldn't have done it without that mentorship, sir. And I truly do appreciate it. Yeah, please. So, you know, we can't do things like this without financial donations, and the Sherman family has been tremendous donors, and we appreciate their support. John Sherman's mother was a dedicated volunteer, loved Dudley, and so we appreciate that family commitment here. But we will need your help getting through phase 2. So if you want to participate, if you want to help make this history come alive, all you got to do, any of the committee members, just raise your hand. Any of them, put your hand up. Any of those folks, hem them up and say, "Hey, how do I give?" And I don't actually know the answer to that question, but we will figure that out and make sure. So we want to invite you, grab a bottle of water, go take some pictures of the house, take pictures with the house. Thank you so much for being here today, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.